Hey guys, this is Brad, and today I'm going to be playing 1080 rated player, and I just want to let you guys know that this might be probably my last game for a few days because, as you can tell by looking in the back of my apartment, I am actually in the process of moving, and tomorrow we're getting the U-Haul and we're moving. Okay, so as I've said in a previous video, I'm not a huge fan of this idea of playing an early e3 because I do feel that it blocks in your dark squared bishop, and maybe if you want to play e3 first, you should consider getting your bishop maybe outside of the chain. So let's go ahead, we'll develop our knight. So one of the drawbacks of playing an early e3 without the bishop outside first is that you can't pin the black knight with bishop g5, which is a very common move that you see played. Okay. I hope you guys are all having a good Saturday, enjoying the weather, if it's nice out at least. I know here where I'm staying it's close to 100 degrees outside, so quite warm indeed. And this is interesting. Okay, so this actually looks like it's going to be transposing into a semi-Slav type of position where it's actually quite alright to have played this e3 move, and white will have ideas of playing knight c3, knight f3, and maybe either queen c2 or some bishop move, bishop e2 or bishop d3. So right now, a completely normal opening from both sides. And here they play c6, and I know this cannot be considered the best move. However, I have found that in my own play, I kind of struggle at punishing this type of play. And so I think it's important not to allow black to establish that pawn there and for it to stay. And I think, although I'll admit that I'm not the most knowledgeable about these types of positions in particular, I think we should immediately try and break it down. That does, of course, weaken the c6 square. My opponent said something in another language, which I assume means go or hurry. It's VAI. Alright, so they don't even challenge. They don't try and establish that pawn with, say, something like b4. So in this case, I think I'll exchange, and then myself, I would like to play this move e5. But is it recommended? Can it be recommended? Otherwise, I would like to get my bishop out to, let's say, bishop f5. And then play something like e6. So let's look at the difference. Now, if I were to play e5 directly, they might have a move like knight f3 hitting at it. And then I could play, in response, queen c7 to guard it. Yeah, I think, and if I play that way, they might try and get in this idea of b4 immediately, and that would then prepare an eventual bishop b2. nonetheless, I think I'll go this route. Yes, and that's exactly what we see. And now I will directly try to attack this pawn. And if they are to play now a3, that's not a good move because I can simply capture b4 and then their rook is being hit. They are now hitting at the pawn and they're defending the rook at the same time. So I think I'll do a developing move, capture this pawn, preparing to castle, because they're still quite a ways away from being able to castle. They need to play knight f3, bishop e2, bishop d3, something like that. And also, if they capture the pawn now, I wouldn't immediately capture their rook, but rather I would give this intermediate check by capturing the pawn first. Okay, so let's go ahead and castle. Just try and continue our development. We are up a couple pawns, so they have 5 pawns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in turn I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I can, whereas they're a little bit pressed for development, I'm not facing the same problems as them. In fact, I'm going to try and exploit my development. Oh, not by doing that. I meant to play rook e8. Sometimes it happens if you have a piece selected and then you click the square you want to attack, it'll automatically take there. And sadly for me, that just happened. I wanted to play rook e8 first, kind of X-raying the pawn that was here. So White's main problem in this game so far has been kind of a complete neglect of development, and they haven't been optimally moving their pawns. So this pawn move here to f3 hampers the natural development of the knight going there, and also it creates a lot of dark square weaknesses around the king. So you might be able to see that White's king right now is very hemmed in, and I need to try to exploit that in this position. So I'll first take the pawn here, and I'm thinking about trying to be slightly sneaky, because I think they might miss it if I move my pawn to d4, and then I could consider giving a check, and I would be then hitting at the bishop here. In other news, that may have just been a very poor move, because now we can see that there's a lot ganging up on this single pawn, and you're not clever if you're making poor decisions. Okay, so let's try and think a little bit more. Now, I don't think that they could have meant to do that, so I'm going to offer them a take back. Because clearly that's just losing outright. I'll ask them if they want to take that back. So it seems like White's a bit generous, and they said, Brad, you're going to give me a pawn for free. Let me in turn outdo you. White's a bit of a one-upper, and so they're trying to give me their queen in turn. It seems that they might be a bit adamant about me having this piece, so yeah, let's go ahead and take it. And then the idea is still on for hitting at this bishop here on e4, e5. I may even have some ways of starting to set up a mating net. So I can develop my bishop to f5. And then the king is kind of running a bit low on squares that they can go to. But also it's very difficult to turn down free material. And my next plan is just to play d3, hitting the knight, but also attacking with discovery on the rook in the corner. They did see that, which is excellent. But in their haste to maybe attack my pawn, they're now dropping their knight. I'm beginning to see maybe some potentials for mating nets, swinging the queen over to a5, blocking off. So queen a5 would then block off this diagonal, and then bringing the rook over to d3. It's impressive. Okay, so with White's play, I might anticipate something like the rook capturing here. Alright. Let's just start attacking. If bishop d3, then probably I'll play queen e2 and attacking at e2. Sorry about the lack of commentary. I don't think there's much to say. I think White's kind of scrambling to stay alive. If they play rook here, then king d1, then king d8 will be check. Bishop d3 is forced, and I'll give checkmate with rook captures d3. That's not checkmate yet, because of course then the king can then go back here. But it would be a checkmate in a couple. Yeah, it feels like White's just timing down. Probably I'll play one more game after this. Yeah, and hopefully it'll be a bit more instructive. Alright, so we're back. Oh! I didn't mean to play a rated game. I wanted to play a casual game. Okay, so now we have someone who could potentially just be 2,000, 2,800, or 800. This will just be a bonus of me potentially getting destroyed. Can't even pronounce that name. Thiago... Who knows? Let's see if they played any other games. Nope. This might be the very, very first game. So when they capture d-capture c4, a4 is a typical response because you want to prevent black from being able to play b5 and securing that pawn. So I think this move, I don't fully understand what it's geared at doing, but probably it's to prevent me from playing e4 outright. So I'm going to pin the knight to the queen with my bishop. And now I'll play e3. So this is, if you watch my first game, the difference between getting the bishop outside the pawn chain first or hemming in your bishop. And now I'm ready to capture the pawn on c4 with my bishop. I'm not certain this is the best move possible, as it does block in the c pawn. And this also is a waste of time. So first bringing the bishop, which is here, to e7, and then going to b4. It's kind of taking two moves for what could be done in one move. So black probably should castle in this position. I'm just looking at whether or not I can play knight e4 here, hitting at the knight one more time. Okay, let's play actively. This might not objectively be the best move, but it is an attacking move, which will force their bishop to move once again. Interestingly, I think they plan on castling queenside, which would make a whole lot of sense. Alright, so what's going on here? They obviously need to retreat that bishop. And then I could, of course, bring my knight back to g3. The queen is still in a pin. However, how will it look with all my pieces on one side of the board? And also, you can then tell that my bishop would have been kind of trapped. This bishop is quite annoying here. But I'm going to take... And then I want to open up the position because I'm better developed than they are. But how do I exploit my development? Yeah, this is a tough game. Certainly they're probably rated slightly above 1500. I think I'll play bishop to b6, b5, and if they have intentions of castling queenside, it will kind of disrupt or wreck their pawn structure to do so. I have to, in my own right, be aware of this idea, rook g8, and then the tactic of bishop captures h3. Hitting at this pawn here. Now as I said, I need to be aware of that tactic. So let me just if I take here, they take there, I give check on a8, the king has to drop here, and then knight check there. Does that accomplish anything for me? I don't think so. And if I play h1, bishop takes, pawn takes, am I getting mated? Maybe not, but they can certainly defend like that. If I play h1, they can just play bishop there. Okay, I think in respect for the passage of time, I need to make a move. which immediately feels like it could be the wrong move. Okay. I do have pressure here still, which is probably not a lot to work with. One point is that they can't play f5 because the queen and the rook would be hit. And once they play the bishop back here, I'll just play e4. And if they play bishop there, I might be in trouble. Probably not trouble, but I would have seen more pleasant days. Yeah. So let's go ahead. I want to play this move and try and lure them into playing here so that I can move my rook back to e1, and then they'd have to move their bishop once more, and finally I can take this pawn. Yeah, exactly. I wonder if they play here, I might just ignore it. And if they capture, I can take. Yeah, I think I'm going to go in for that. And now the idea is if they play their queen here or here, I'll capture with the bishop first. They definitely can't play the queen here because after I capture the bishop... Oh, and thankfully for me this is actually going to be mate here. Certainly I didn't see that beforehand. Okay, so that was very good play by my opponent. Certainly they're better than a 1500 level rating. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video, even though maybe my commentary was a bit scarce in the second game. Have a good evening. Bye.